Okay, so thank you all so much for taking the time out of your afternoons to join us for this Know Before You Go session. And thank you also for planning to join us in Washington, D.C. in just a couple of short weeks. We are really excited to see everybody and excited to take the Hill by storm together. And so we just wanted to have this quick session with you all to share a couple of best practices, tips, and guidance for you as you head into your group meetings on the Hill on June the 2nd. Okay. And then just very quickly, this is kind of the agenda that we're working with this afternoon. We'll start off with just a quick overview of schedule for June 2nd, timing of everything, what you all can expect that morning, and then we'll move into our tips and best practices and some talking points. And just like from a very high level view, what you all can expect for your Hill meetings on the 2nd, and then we'll finish out with some questions. And I know that some folks included questions in their registration forms when they registered for this session. And so I think as we work through our slides and work through the agenda for this afternoon, we'll try to address those questions. But if we miss anything, just feel free to drop questions in the chat. And then just throughout the session, like if folks have any questions or concerns, thoughts, or anything that you want to share, just feel free to drop it in the chat, and then we can go through the questions at the end. Okay, so before we dive into, I guess, like the meat of the agenda, I just wanted to take a couple of minutes to talk about like why now? Why did NABO and WIP decide to come together for this year's fly-in? I think as many of you know, Women Impacting Public Policy was actually formed by two former NABO leaders, and this year is celebrating its 25th anniversary. And so both NABO and WIP felt that it would be appropriate and fitting for the organizations to sort of return to their roots, come together to to mark this really exciting milestone and to use a collective voice on the Hill on the 2nd to advocate for women entrepreneurs and just to talk with lawmakers about a lot of the issues that are impacting small business owners and women entrepreneurs particularly. But Elle or I don't know if there's anything else that you wanted to share like on that point before we hop into the agenda, but feel free to let me know.
Hi.
Oh, you're there. You're not in your meeting.
Mute that. Okay. Okay, so this is kind of a like very quick overview of what we can expect for June the 2nd. So we do have a pretty early start because we'd like to be to the Hill no later than 8 o'clock. So if you are a NABO member and you are staying at the Eaton Hotel, we will be loading the bus to leave for the Hill at 7:30 in the morning. Because it'll take depending on what traffic looks like, it'll probably take at least a half hour to get to the Hill from the Eaton. And then if you are a WIP member going to the Hill, you will plan to meet at WIP's office on 80 M Street. And then then everyone will travel to the Hill from WIP's office. And so if everything goes as planned, we'll all arrive to the Hill around 8 o'clock. From there, and once everyone gets off the buses and once we all arrive on the Hill, we will do group photos at the Capitol. We'll do one group photo with like both NABO and WIP together, and then I think we might do a photo with just NABO members and with just WIP members. And imagine that will probably take somewhere between 20 and 30 minutes, depending on how quickly we can all, get photos that we're happy with. And then from there, we will head over to the Senate Hart office building and process through security. And since we have such a large group of people, this will probably take us, I would guess, maybe 20 minutes plus to get everybody through. And as you process through security and get into the building, we'll just start sending folks up to the room in Senate Hart. And when you get into the room in Senate Hart, there will be light breakfast and coffee. So if you want to grab a pastry, grab a coffee, and then find your seat. And then around 9:15, we will be joined by our partners at Amazon, who will deliver a brief panel discussion on artificial intelligence. We'll also hear from our partners at Natural Allies, in which really excited to have a fireside chat between Angela Dingle, who is the president and CEO of WIP, Jen Earl, who is the CEO of NABO, as well as Tina Faraka, who is an executive vice president and chief operating officer at TC Energy, which is one of the largest energy companies in North America. They will have a quick fireside chat. We'll open things up for questions during that fireside chat. We'll also hear from Gusto, which is a payroll and benefits platform primarily for small micro businesses. And they'll be hosting a conversation on healthcare and just like the state of healthcare for small businesses. We do have several invitations still pending with lawmakers for the second. And so we hope to have some updates on that front in the next couple of days. And then after we wrap up with hearing from partners and potentially lawmakers, that is when you all will start to get with your groups and make your way to your Capitol Hill meetings. We have blocked out the time from 1:30 to 4:30 for Hill meetings. And we'll talk a little bit more about like the logistics of what that looks like in a couple of minutes. Oh, and lunch will be served during our meeting in Senate Hart, so fear not. We will make sure you are all fed before you run off to your Hill meetings. But this is kind of like the 10,000-foot view of, what the agenda for June the 2nd will look like. This is the flow. Um, and, pending any emergencies or last minute changes, I think this is what we can expect for that day. But I don't know, Elle or Meredith, anything else that you wanted to cover for the agenda?
Looks good.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so now we'll talk a little bit. Oh, I see Katie.
Yeah.
Katie's got a question.
Will the buses be bringing us back to the Eaton Hotel?
No, the buses will just be dropping everybody off at the Eaton Hotel. And then I think to get back to the hotel, the best route is probably using rideshare. So maybe so Uber or Lyft. Maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but are folks able to take Metro to get back to the hotel?
I need to look to see what's the closest metro station. I'll look it up right now. But yeah, rideshare or metro.
If we were to be planning to leave directly after those meetings, is there anywhere to like have our bags during that day?
I mean, you could
The answer is
haul it
no.
around with you.
No, I don't want to do that. It's gonna be hot.
I am staying until I'm checking out the morning of the 3rd. So if anybody really has a problem, I'd be happy to let y'all keep your bags in my room until we get done.
The hotel will usually hold them for us, but I'm thinking like
Yeah.
getting back to the hotel from Capitol Hill and then to the train station from there. So I'll just adjust my train ticket time.
Yeah, I would say you all, we wouldn't advise bringing luggage on the hill. It's not like it's prohibited, but I know many of you would prefer not to. So I would definitely factor that into, if you, as you say, if you need to build in time to go back to the hotel and retrieve it or figure out how you want to handle that. But it is doable, but not necessarily something you'd want to be doing.
And Metro Center is about 3 blocks away. So you would be lugging the bag if you took Metro.
From the hotel, right, Elle?
Yeah, it's 3
Right.
blocks from Eden.
Right.
Okay. Thank you. That was a good question, Katie, and thank you, Trish, for offering up your hotel room for folks' bags. Okay, so next we'll talk a little bit about just some like tips and best practices, and then like what you guys can expect over the next couple of days and next 2 weeks as we continue to confirm some of the Capitol Hill meetings. So for the group meetings, just as a reminder, everybody has been assigned to a group based on the zip code that they provided in the registration form when you signed up for Advocacy Day, either through NABO or WIP's websites. And you've all been put into groups of 4 to 6 people. And so, in each group, you might have the same congressional district as like 1 or 2 other people in your group, but you might also have some folks from a neighboring congressional district in your group. And the way that we've structured the meetings is we've tried to target lawmakers who sit on committees of jurisdiction. So folks who are sitting on House Small Business, House or Senate Appropriations, Energy and Commerce, just, the folks that are sitting on committees that actually like write the legislation and hold the hearings on the issues that both NABO and WHIP are advocating on. And so it might turn out that you meet with like your direct elected member if they sit on one of those committees, but you might also meet with somebody who's, a representative of a neighboring congressional district. We have put in meeting requests with, both senators for each state. So, odds are you will have a meeting with one or both of your senators. It really just depends on the availability of the offices. Um, and
And can I
so,
just quickly add, Bailey?
yeah, go ahead.
We, in the first instance, are putting the meeting requests into the members themselves, but as I'm sure you all can imagine, that's not a guarantee. If the member can't be available during that time, even if it's a last minute thing, sometimes they schedule with the member and they aren't able to show, they got called into a hearing or meeting. So the default would be a staffer from his or her office. But just know in the first instance, we do try to get a meeting with the member, and then the second default is with the staff.
Yeah, and thanks for that call out, Meredith. And for the staffers that you all are meeting with, we've really tried to target staffers who actually sit over small business issues versus like just random staffers, because we want this to be worth your while and to make sure that you're talking with folks who can actually like have a conversation with you about small business issues. I will say that like sometimes things do just like change last minute, and like you might end up meeting with a staffer who maybe doesn't sit over small business issues. So it just like, I don't know, just I think just be flexible and be ready for the potential of schedules changing last minute. I think like we said a couple of minutes ago, we have 1:30 to 4:30 p.m. Blocked for these Hill meetings. And so to the best of your ability, like please plan to keep this time open. Um, that way we, have somebody in each of the meetings that we schedule. And like I think Meredith already like alluded to this a little bit, but the number of meetings per group will vary depending on the availability of the offices. And so our goal is to have at least 2 to 3 meetings for each meeting group scheduled. But I mean, it really depends on availability of the offices. Some of you have already started receiving calendar invites, but you will receive a calendar invite for every meeting that we confirm for you all. So just continue to check your calendars, continue to check your email for calendar invites, check spam just in case those invites go into your spam folders. We will probably be confirming meetings from now through even the 2nd of June. So just please keep an eye on your calendar and refresh it over the next couple of weeks. And then I think we'll probably send this out maybe the Friday prior to the Advocacy Day, but we'll send out a confirmation email that includes the full itinerary for your confirmed meetings up until that point. If any additional meetings are scheduled after we send out that confirmation email, we will follow up with that information. But the confirmation email will include all of the members of your meeting group. It will also include your cell phone numbers, email addresses, and we really encourage you to start group chats with your meeting group so that you all can start to build a strategy around, how you want to approach these meetings as a group, what issues you'd like to talk about, and, just giving each other the opportunity to get to like introduce yourselves, get to know one another, because for some of these groups, it's fun. Like there's a mix of NABO members and WHIP members in some of these groups, and so it's an opportunity for you to connect with business owners from the other organization. And like, if you're a group of all NABO members, maybe it'll be the first time you all have the opportunity to meet each other. So really encourage you all to connect ahead of time before the meetings. And then lastly, we will also share a very detailed Know Before You Go guide, and the guide will include that schedule for the full day on June the 2nd that we talked about a couple of minutes ago. It'll include some key points of contact, including myself and Elle and Meredith. So if you all have any questions, in like the days leading up to the conference. You can just feel free to reach out to any of us. We'll also include some best practices. We'll include talking points and then just like tips generally for navigating the Hill. So all of that will be shared probably the Friday prior to the conference. Okay. And so I mentioned calendar invites. This is what your calendar invite will look like. It'll include the staffer that you're meeting with. It'll include their name and their title and the legislator that they work for. So this is an example of a meeting that we scheduled the other day. It is a Hill meeting for a group of business owners from Maryland. In the body of the calendar invite, you'll see the name of the staffer. This is the office phone number. So if you are worried that you're running late, or if you have a question about like how do you get to the office, you can feel free to call the number, and the staff in the office should be able to help with, moving things around if you're running late or if you have questions about where the office is. And then also just including the list of members who are in your meeting group so that like, you're fully aware of who's in the meeting group. And then these invites will either come from myself or my colleague, Celia Hansen, who's on the line as well. Okay, and then
Just quickly, sorry, do folks have any questions so far as to kind of the process of scheduling, getting there, those kind of things?
all right. Thanks, Meredith. So these are just some quick meeting best practices, and I'll go over some of them, but maybe Elle or Meredith, if you want to take over some of the updates on this slide, because I just feel like I've been talking a lot. Um, so I think first and foremost, just as you're walking into your meetings on the Hill, just remember that like in addition to representing your businesses, you're also representing both NABO and WIP. And so I think to the best of your ability, it's important to maintain a bipartisan position and to just really focus on NABO and WIP's policy priorities. And I'm not super worried about this, honestly, but if it does come up, like if a hot button issue comes up during your meeting with staff or with lawmakers, I would just try to take that conversation back to either NABO or WIP policy priorities or just to like business issues to the best of your ability. Because I mean, sometimes like it just happens, stuff comes up. And so, if you can just say, hey, like, I like appreciate you bringing up that issue, but like, we really want to focus on women's business issues or just like business economic issues during our time today. I think that is probably the best strategy. And then also just, focus on the facts, focus on your business stories. I think everyone on this call probably has a really compelling business journey that, you can speak about at length during these meetings. In your before you go guide, we will include some data that we've collected from both surveys of both memberships. We'll include data on each of the policy priorities that we include in the policy agenda. And so, we'll try our best to give you all detailed information and detailed statistics for you to use during these meetings so that like, you're not just going in there without any context. And then I don't know, I always like to just say like, remember to always be courteous and respectful and polite during these meetings, because again, like it's not just a reflection on you and your businesses, but also the organizations. And for some of these offices, it might be the first time they've ever met with somebody from NABO or with somebody from WIP. And so it's just really important that we make a strong first impression. And then finally, we highly encourage you all to take photos while you are on the Hill, like while you're in your meetings, while you're walking around the hallways, or if you want to snap a fun photo of yourself, like on the like in front of the Capitol, like encourage you to do that as well. Because we love to see your photos and would love to just use them for NABO or WIP social media. So please remember to take photos. Elle, Meredith, anything else that you want to add on that front?
I was just going to say, just remember that these staff, when you sit down with staff, they're a lot younger. They don't have a whole lot of information. So what you think may be basic or very simple, it's really, you want to start from the very basis of how you began your business and like really get to the root of everything because they really, a lot of them do not have any background on how to run a business. So don't feel like you're ever giving them more information. More information is better.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think it's such a unique opportunity for them to meet with directly with business owners. You know, there will be lots of meetings these staffers are taking with lobbyists and industry folks. And, you know, I think this is a really unique opportunity. And it's why we get these meetings, that why these staff are so eager to meet with you all, because you're out there, you're running your business, you are experiencing the impact of policies, both that help small business and that cause challenges to your business. So I think the more they can hear directly from you about the impact of policies that have been successful for you personally as a business owner, the better.
Got it. Completely agree. Thank you both for those tips. One other thing that I wanted to make sure that we covered that I realize is not on the slides. Please, please wear comfortable shoes. You're going to be walking around so much, and like you are going to be kicking yourself if you decide to wear a pair of high heels or uncomfortable shoes. Like I have definitely made bad choices and worn high heels when I should have been wearing like flats, and my feet were not happy with me. So please, please wear comfortable shoes. Business attire for these meetings is totally fine. I would also encourage you just to like keep a close eye on the forecast leading up to the Hill Day. Um, like this week, it's unbearably hot in Washington. I think we're supposed to get a ton of rain this coming week, so like the temperatures I think will return to normal. But like, you know, by the time June 2nd rolls around, we could just have like one of those wacky days where it's 100 degrees and really humid. So just keep an eye on the forecast in the days leading up to the event. If it rains, you are allowed to bring umbrellas into Hill offices with you. You're also allowed to, you can bring a backpack into the buildings with you also. Um, and you can bring water bottles, you can bring laptops, things like that. And in the guide that we send around, we'll include a link to like things that you're not allowed to bring in Hill offices, but like generally you're fine as long as you don't have like firearms or something in your purse, you should be fine. But if you take anything away from this conversation, it is to wear comfortable shoes.
Hey, Bailey, it's Courtney. One more thing. While it is often unbearably hot, dressing in layers is increasingly important. Do you remember how cold that lunchroom was?
Oh my
I was
gosh.
just
Like
going to say the same
Yeah.
thing, Courtney.
we had to sit
Yeah.
outside, like we had to take turns leaving the room. It was unbearably cold.
Yes, that is a really good call out. Thank you, Courtney. Yeah, we sat in a room last year where I think they must have had the temperature set to like 50 degrees. Like it was freezing. So maybe have a light sweater in your bag so that you're not like freezing your butt off after coming inside from it being 100 degrees outside. Okay, so really want to spend a couple of minutes going over a couple of quick talking points for these meetings. I think I think most of the meetings will probably start out with the staffer or the lawmaker, like giving you all an opportunity to introduce yourselves. And so um, I think what that looks like is you share your name, your business name, what kind of business you run, and just like, you know, any other details that are important to the journey that you all have been on as you've started businesses. And, you know, if there's a specific like issue that you want to raise with the lawmakers or the staff, that's fine. We do want these experiences to be authentic to you. We're really putting together like the policy priorities in case you like find yourself in a situation where like you know you're unsure which policies or which talking points you want to use during these meetings. And so um, these are generally the topics that we've included in the Know Before You Go guide, and this is based on a combination of both NAWBO and WIP's policy priorities, as well as just like what we've heard from everybody are the top issues that you all are facing as business owners. And so I think first and foremost, top priority for all business owners, regardless of industry, size, or how long you've been in business, is access to capital. And so, you know, I think any if you've experienced like specific issues with capital access or like if you want to talk about how challenging it was to get capital for your business, whether it was because like the paperwork was too much or the process was too complicated, I think that's a great experience to share. Or if you want to talk with offices about artificial intelligence, whether it's concerns with like data privacy or ethics or whatever else, I think that's a good experience to share too. Um, Another issue that both NABO and WIP have been doing a lot of advocacy around over the last couple of years has been diversification of energy sources. Because I think especially now, I mean, I think energy costs have been, at the top of mind for a lot of folks, including business owners. And so, we've been talking with lawmakers on the Hill about like just expanding the amount of options that there are for energy to hopefully help like bring down those costs. We also want to talk about federal contracting, and I know that this is an issue that is like I think really like top of mind for a lot of folks, just considering there's been a lot of changes at the federal level that have impacted federal contracting, whether it was the recent executive order related to DEI and federal contractors, or the FAR rewrite, which is the federal acquisition regulation rewrite, and changes to set aside programs and things like that. And so, if you're a business owner who is in the Women Owned Small Business Program and you've experienced decreases in your contracts, like that is a great thing to talk about during these meetings. Or if you're concerned about resources for like the Small Business Administration or any of the SBA's entrepreneurial development programs, including women's business centers, small business development centers, or SCORE, this is a great place to talk about that. And I can say I was on the Hill a couple of weeks ago with a client, and we talked with a lot of offices about the Small Business Administration and those entrepreneurial development programs. And like, across the aisle and across both chambers, there is a ton of really strong support for those programs. And like, even though there is support and offices are receptive to it, I still think it's really important. Like, if you've benefited from a women's business center or a small business development center or like any SBA programs, I still think it's really valuable to share like that experience and that value with the folks that you're meeting with. Um, I think other issues that are top of mind for a lot of folks are healthcare and pharmacy benefit manager reform. Obviously, I think the cost of healthcare is something that's top of mind for a lot of folks, especially um, if you or your business was impacted by the lapse in the Affordable Care Act subsidies at the end of last year. I think it's worth sharing that experience with offices as well. And then lastly, and Ellie, I might actually pass it over to you to talk a little bit about the micro business definition, if that's okay.
Sure. So NABO and WIP, I think it was 2 years ago, we did a listening session tour together on micro businesses. And out of it, NABO kind of created a definition of what we believe a micro business should be. And we defined it as a small business under 50 employees and 5 million in revenue. However, in the recent weeks, when discussing with Hill offices on the federal level, we've realized that the appetite for these numbers and a definition right now is just not there. So we're shifting focus to a state level. But with that being said, it doesn't mean that we quit the conversation on the federal level. It just means that we're going to continue to advocate for the need and the recognition for it. We're just thinking more along the lines when it comes to writing a bill that we're going to be pushing it more on the state level. But we don't want it to fall off of the talking points because it is still relevant. And we're hoping that as leadership changes in the committees of jurisdiction, it will still be something that's talked about. So we don't want it to completely go away. So when leadership changes, we can bounce on the opportunity, or pounce, not bounce.
Thanks, Elle. And as it says on the screen, there are detailed talking points on all of these topics included in the Know Before You Go guide. So we will send that around so that you all have the opportunity to just like really dive in and review all of this. And then we'll also include links to both NAWBO and WIP's policy agendas, which includes like an even deeper dive on all of these issues. So we'll make sure that you have all of this information heading into your meetings. And I think um, opening up for questions now. I will take the slides down while we do questions.
I have a quick question for maybe a business who's local. If we are not staying at like the hotel or anything, is there a possibility that we could like drive to meet you guys at the beginning of the morning?
I think that's definitely an option. Of course,
Okay.
I mean that might even be easier than or I don't know. I don't know why I said that. Yes, that's an option.
Okay, thank you.
You could park at the train station.
Oh, perfect. Okay, awesome.
I had a quick question. I see I'm registered under Arizona. I was hoping to switch states. Who would I contact for that?
You can contact me. I will put my email address in the chat. When you reach out, can you just include like your full name, your business name, and your zip code? Of
Yes, thank you.
course. Hey, were there any other questions that folks had?
And I'll just add in terms of scheduling, and this will be in the Know Before You Go guide, but we are building in at least a half hour in between meetings to give you time to move from one room to another room. And if you have to go from the Senate side for one meeting and then your next meeting is the House side, we're trying to build in 45 minutes. Part of that is walking time across the Capitol complex between the Senate side and the House side, which will make more sense for those traveling from out of town when you get here, but building in enough time for that, and then security in the building for your next meeting. So we are trying really hard to give you all enough time and not keep you so back to back to back. I mean, there will be back to back meetings, but hopefully enough time to get through security and to your next meeting. And if folks have questions as meetings land, as you get the confirmation email from Bailey, as you get the Know Before You Go guide, please feel free to reach out to myself or Al or Bailey. Our emails will be in the Know Before You Go guide, and we're happy to answer questions if and when you want to digest some of these other things at another time.
But we will be sharing the recording from this conversation in our follow-up. We can also share the slides. And like I said, we'll be sharing a Know Before You Go guide to help you prep for your meetings as well. But as Meredith said, if anyone has any questions about the meetings or the event itself, please feel free to reach out to myself or to Elle or to Meredith. And we're happy to answer questions and be a resource to you.
It's going to be a great event.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all for making the trip. We're looking forward to it.